2 disturbing true stories from Reddit. Narrated by Creep Reads. Disturbing. You Want Me to Draw What? By Smart Alakine. Last summer, I worked at a water park / hotel / golf course timeshare place. I was hired to draw caricatures in the hotel lobby, which was kind of a cool job. It paid really well. I fairly liked it. People like having their picture drawn. I drew a lot of caricatures over the summer, and I'll tell you what, you meet all kinds of people. Here's the story. One slow day, 2 ladies, fat, ugly, missing teeth, and absolutely foul-smelling walked by, with like a 10-year-old boy, and the 2 ladies were immediately excited about the idea of having their kid drawn. I think they were sisters. They seemed basically normal, chatted with me, watched me do a drawing, and waited for me to finish the one I was working on. Anyway, it came their turn, and we started talking again. People would usually have me do a theme for their drawings, like, draw us as Power Rangers or whatever. I asked the kid what he wanted his picture to be about. He didn't say anything, and his mother dropped down so he could whisper in her ear. She relayed to me that he wanted to be drawn as Godzilla. I was like, oh, okay. Wait, do you want to be drawn like fighting Godzilla, riding on his back, or what? He spoke to his mother again. No, he wanted to be Godzilla. Okay, sure, like, whatever. So he sat down in my chair, and I tried talking to him about what he liked. Did he play sports? Just random stuff I would talk to people about to keep them entertained while I drew. He didn't say anything, which is fine. Like, some kids are shy, but this kid actually seemed kind of disturbed. Like there was a reason he couldn't talk or something. That I can't say for sure, but these 2 ladies basically spoke for him and really enjoyed talking to me while they watched me draw. At one point, the mother of the kid got really close to me and said she wanted to talk to me when I was done. I was like, okay. Her breath reeked really bad. I finished the drawing of the kid as Godzilla, and he said thank you, which surprised me, and the 2 ladies laughed and looked over the picture and liked it a lot. The kid and one of the ladies left for the water park, and the mother stayed behind to talk to me as she asked. She said something like, okay, now I'd like you to draw another picture, but this one is sort of personal. A little concerned, I asked her to explain. She pulled out her phone and started scrolling through pictures. She got uncomfortably close to me, had a big smile on her face, and said, "Ready?" I nodded, really weirded out, and looked down at her phone to see a picture of a stillborn child that looked as if it had been dipped in blood. "Beautiful, isn't he?" the lady said. I called him my little monkey because he looked like a monkey. And she laughed, really, really loudly. I was speechless. I sort of slapped my hand to my forehead. It took me a while to respond, but all I could think to say was, all children are beautiful? Trying hard to mask how fucking shocked I was. The lady then said, well, I'd like you to draw him as a monkey. I didn't say anything. She scrolled to another picture on her phone, another premature baby with tubes up its nose. And the woman said, and this was my little seal. He lasted 4 hours. Doesn't he look like a little seal? Of course, she wanted him drawn as a seal. Holy shit, so bizarre. Her breath reeked of alcohol and smoke, and just general odor, and she was laughing in my face. Without asking, the lady sent the pictures to my cell phone because my phone number was on the sign by the aisle. I was so shocked that I could barely put together a sentence. I said something to the effect of maybe, because I couldn't help but feel bad for her. She said, great, we're here till Thursday, and walked away. I called off till Friday. The Man at the Window by Yuzin. This happened to me in the summer 2 years ago. I was living with my mother at the time, and she'd taken herself on a vacation with a friend, so I had the house entirely to myself. This lends to be a fairly happy occurrence for me since I'm comfortable alone and could actually get to watch the TV for once. My mother is a notorious television hog and generally could do whatever I wanted without motherly intrusion. It was a fairly typical night for me. I'd been chilling out in my computer room. Context: I have a bedroom upstairs in the house and a room to myself downstairs that contains my computer. Just playing about, chatting to some people, snacking on junk food, the usual Home Alone kid stuff. I think I was playing World of Warcraft back then. Hey, it was 2 years ago. Give me a break. Now, I'm pretty bad when it comes to sleeping, whenever I have nothing to get up for. My sleeping cycle goes completely out of whack, and I wind up waking up at strange times and staying up till the early hours of the morning. In this case, it must have been going well on 4 AM when this incident occurred. I think I was grinding at the time. I usually listened to music back then when I was grinding, but I think it was between songs when I heard what sounded like a cat letting out a high-pitched wail. We don't own a cat, but this in itself isn't too uncommon. There have always been a few neighborhood cats. Sometimes they fight with each other, sometimes there's other reasons for them crying out, but I've certainly heard things like that in the past. What alarms me about this particular sound, though, was that it was coming directly from my back garden. I was worried that two cats were going at it and were trying to fight to the death in my backyard. Being a big animal lover, we used to own cats when we lived in the country, and they're by far my favourite animal. I decided to go out to the back garden to try and startle the cats and make them disperse so that nothing wound up getting too hurt. I opened the door and saw a pair of reflective feline eyes look up and then bolt over the fence and off into another housing estate. But I was confused. There was only one cat. What then had provoked it to cry out in such a manner, as if it were being hurt or scared? It was at that point that I heard the sounds of stones rattling together. Our back garden had quite a bit of gravel in it. It's a decorative sort of thing, a bit hard to describe without a picture, but you probably get the idea. I instinctively cast my eyes in the direction that I thought the rustling had come from. Now, I'd just come out of a brightly lit house, and it was a very, very dark 4 AM outside. There's no real lighting near my back garden, especially not near the fence where I'd heard the sound. My eyes hadn't quite adjusted to the night, but there's no mistaking what I saw. A very human-shaped shadow looming up from behind a small bush that we had growing near the fence. I had a bit of a nope moment and rather swiftly slammed the door shut and locked it. But it was 4 AM. I've always had a bit of an active imagination where horror is concerned. I'm the guy who sits around and reads creepypasta Home Alone with the lights turned out and then has rather vivid and terrifying dreams. I figured it was probably my imagination. It wouldn't be the first time I'd thought I'd seen something and it turned out to be nothing. At the time, the blinds in my room's windows had been taken off because they were soon to be replaced with curtains. This meant that the entire back garden was pretty much open to me if I looked out. I actually found this very disturbing and avoided looking in that direction. I've never been a fan of staring out into an unfathomable blackness at night. When I went back into my room, I took a glance out and couldn't see the shadow that I thought I'd saw when I'd been out at the back door. So I shrugged and figured it had just been a trick of the light. Back to grinding on World of Warcraft. About 20 minutes passed before I slid back from my desk and stood up to go fetch a drink. Just as I was heading to the door to head out towards the kitchen, something catches the corner of my eye near the window. It's meant to be unfathomable blackness, but it's not. Not quite. There's a patch of something in the corner, something that my brain instantly recognizes is not belonging. I paused and turned to see something that, to this day, keeps my curtains the fuck closed whenever I'm in my room at night. There's a face pressing against my window. It's not a human face either. Whoever it was, they had a goddamn mask on. We're not talking about a goofy Halloween mask here either. I took the liberty of searching around for a picture to reference the mask, and here it is on screen. So here I am, stopped dead at the door, holding my empty glass that I had been planning on filling with OJ, when I'm looking eye to eye with someone pushing their masked face up against my window, standing in my dark-ass garden at 4:20 AM. My heart skipped a beat. The first thing I did was break eye contact, or what I imagined was eye contact. I couldn't really see their eyes from a distance because of the lack of light near the window, and head on through the door and into the kitchen. I placed the glass down on the table. As I did this, I heard rustling, something moving on the gravel again. This time, it was loud, pronounced, heavy footsteps upon the stone. I turned to the kitchen window, and the face is there again. They followed me. This time, they slammed their hands on the window, along with pushing their face against it. I think I hear them saying something, but I can't make it out. I notice they have gloves on, and think this couldn't be a good sign. Yeah, because a masked creeper is a good omen by itself. I'm caught between two minds. They're around the back, and it'd take them a few seconds to get around to the front of the house if I choose to bolt from the kitchen and sprint out into the cul-de-sac and reach a neighbour's place. That'd be fast, but it'd be risky. I'm not all that physically fit, not particularly fat, but I don't do a lot of physical exercise, so I wasn't terribly confident in my cardio to hold up over the distance, short as it may be. What if they were just playing faster than me? What if they went inside the house after I left and stole something, then vanished before the cops could show up? It wasn't like I'd have time to open the door, lock it, then bolt. My other option was to phone the police, then hope the nutjob doesn't start trying to smash in the window, then climb through it. The window in the kitchen would have been a tough sell, but the one in my room wouldn't have been hard at all. The figure in my window was tall, and the windowsill itself was low to the ground. If they wanted in, what was to stop them? Grabbing the phone, I decided I'd take my chances. I'd been standing in the hallway at this point, having backed the fuck away from the kitchen. I'd heard more banging on the window there, and didn't want anything to do with it. At least in the hallway, I couldn't see him, and he couldn't see me. I knew I could have phoned the cops then and there, but I went back into my room. Surprise, surprise, there he was. I made a very obvious show of raising the phone and dialing the number, practically shouting down the phone, telling them exactly what was going on. They kept me on the line. I'm sure that's his standard policy for them. Even though this guy knows the cops are coming, I told him very loudly. He stays there. In fact, I swear I hear laughing. Then, he smashes his head against the window. I literally hear the mask cracking against the glass. It even slips just a bit, and I see a receding hairline peeking into view. I figured he was a nutjob and was going to try and force his way in. I live in a fairly small town, and the police aren't known for their rapid reaction times. Or maybe he just didn't care. I was desperate, and that's when I saw it. A stupid pellet gun that I'd had since I was a kid. I say stupid because the damn thing was broken and didn't even work anymore, but it looked real. Very, very real. It was a M1911 replica, I believe, and completely looked the part. It was totally hidden from the masked man's view, since it was tucked off behind my computer, collecting dust. When I suddenly grabbed it and stormed towards the window, throwing the phone to one side and holding it like Jack fucking Bauer, I was a huge 24 fan back then, and shouting like an attack dog for him to back the hell off before I blew his brains all over the floor. He seems startled. He backs off. He jumps even. And then just like that, he's gone. I was terrified, scared nearly out of my mind, but the adrenaline took hold, and I managed to make myself look big enough to freak the guy out. I guess in that moment, he thought the gun was real, and I actually knew how to use it. I'd taken that stance that you see people use in pretty much every serious cop, military drama. Looking back, if the guy had been smart, he never saw me load a magazine or anything. Would I really keep a loaded gun around the house? I mean, I live in Northern Ireland, not the US where that's fairly common. The police arrived 10 minutes later. It's a good job I went for the gunplay and checked the house, the garden, surrounding neighborhood gardens, and the entire estate for any sign of the man at the window. But he was gone. They said that he was, in all likelihood, some drunk teenager who'd found a leftover mask from Halloween and decided to have a laugh. I believed them at the time. It helped me feel better. But I remember that shot of the person's hairline, and I remember their build. They were an older person, 30s or 40s, drunk or on drugs quite possibly. But who knows what they really wanted. I never saw a weapon on them, but they could have easily had one. There was never any further sightings of the masked tormentor, but I can tell you this. I've never felt truly comfortable in that room, when I'm in the house alone ever since, at least not in the middle of the night or in the early hours of the morning. When it's pitch black out, who knows what could be creeping around outside.